He'll have them all sold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Just-
I don't have
Thank you.
Oh, you made it, yeah.
It must be in the packet
Jeffrey.
somewhere.
Did you hear from Troy?
it. We discussed it, so.
Well, they interviewed it.
We did, didn't we?
In February. I think it was in February sometime.
Probably, sounds about
I
right.
never saw it, so I couldn't.
What's that?
When we interviewed Donnie, February? Probably.
The date?
Yeah, well, just
I'll-
what month
I'll
it was.
get
I mean, I think we need his application.
Well.
It was probably in the packet, but I don't remember.
And there should be an older one, because he did
He
do
hasn't filled
part-time
out
before
a-
his before.
Well, it was the second meeting in February, I think.
Was it? Yeah, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
because I want to say it was 2 weeks before that meeting,
Yeah,
February 19th.
it makes sense.
because you guys did it just before the meeting, I think, from what I remember.
Well, you remember more than I do, because I didn't remember that
Oh,
exactly.
February.
I think it was a special meeting we did it, actually.
I found it.
No? Or maybe it was before a regular meeting. Yeah. Figured he could be here.
So anyway,
I got it.
How's it going? Not too bad. Hey, Tony.
Tony, still waiting on the syrup.
I told your husband it was.
Really? Oh, he's in so much trouble. He's in so much trouble. The money's burning a hole in my pocket.
Well, I told him in January, I said, it's already there.
All right, well, we're past 6.
Melissa. Thanks, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Oh, Donnie's there. That's the person we were waiting for. All right. You good? Shane, you good?
Yep.
All right, I'd like to call the special select board meeting of Monday, May 13th, 2024 to order. Item 2, additions or deletions to the agenda.
I move to delete consideration of select board pay orders from the agenda.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Item 3, executive session, appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee per 1 VSA 313A3.
I move to enter executive session to consider the employment of a town employee pursuant to Title I VSA Section 313A3 and invite,
Donnie Derby.
Derby?
who?
Donnie Derby.
I can't hear you.
Donnie Derby.
Donnie Derby,
Tina.
Derby and Tina. Hello.
Josh?
And
And
Josh. Anybody else?
No?
Okay, to attend the executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You all. Really popular.
They doubled.
Came out of executive session at 6:25. Anyone care to make a motion?
I would make a motion to hire Donnie Derby pending his acceptance of our offer for $31 per hour as part-time road crew member starting June 1st.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Do you accept, Donnie?
All
Sounds good, thank you.
Right.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Full-time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Part-time.
that's you on the stay. All right, moving on to item 4, visitors and concerned citizens. Anybody? Oh. Oops.
I mentioned this last week that I kind of screwed up the recording, so just for the people out there. There is, in Memorial Day weekend, Vermont Film and Folklore Film Festival. Vermont Film and Folklore Festival. 42 films, 4 venues, over 4 days. So, posters there, so I'm really excited about it, I'm pushing it, so.
In Manchester, correct?
In Manchester. Great.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Nope. All right. Moving on to item 5, town official business. 5A is planning commission, set date for public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment. So, as I requested last meeting was to have some time to go through it, and I have some stuff in the zoning bylaws that I've come up with that I think need some work. We can start off with, first is under all the different zoning districts.
Well, so, Tom, before we just get too far, so the agenda item is to set a date for the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment.
Yeah.
And I am appreciative of your due diligence and that you comb through the document and that you have some things to bring forth, but I think that the place for that would be at the public hearing.
Right.
So I'm pleased that you found some things that you feel that the planning commission hasn't turned the stone over yet, but let's give the right forum so that maybe other members of the community who've come through the document will have their opportunity to speak also, because this is not a hearing.
No, but I don't think we're ready for a hearing.
If you found some things that need to be discussed, I think we're ready for a public hearing.
I think the bylaws need to be changed before there's a public hearing, myself.
There was a time and a place for all of that to happen in the process, and
The process, how the process works is the planning commission comes up with their final rules or final draft.
correct?
That goes to us. That is our job now, to go through the final rules and see if there's anything we object to. You can't do that until the final rules are fully put together.
Well, but I think we need to give the public hearing its due conversation and to set a date for that and to not go through it line by line tonight.
I'm not ready for a public hearing myself.
Well, you're one of 5 of us.
Yeah? Oh, yeah?
Yep.
I mean, we've had 9 public sessions to go through this information. I've attended several. A lot of the community here has attended several. The planning commission went back and sharpened their pencils many times to do their best work at doing the best that they could, with an understanding of knowing that it can always be amended. Things are always going to be evolving. But the planning commission's been working on it since 2018. So I think that we're getting close to a time to say, let's at least get it in the starting gate by having the hearing and allow anyone to do any final weighing in.
So how do we clarify the purpose of this meeting, and the difference between that and the hearing itself? Because I'm not sure that I understand exactly what we're
What this
charged,
meeting is for?
what we're charged with as far as like, the level that the material is supposed to be at when it comes to the public hearing. I mean, that's an open meeting for discussion, right?
Yes.
So is that when all of this discussion is supposed to happen? Or, I guess I'm confused about what,
Well, a lot of discussion has happened prior to this point.
oh, absolutely.
So I would like to think the majority of the discussion has happened prior to this point, or should have happened prior to this point. So if there's a feeling that that discussion hasn't happened, then maybe that's what the conversation is about today. But I feel that it has happened, and then the opportunity is that we set a date for a public hearing, and then the planning commission is here, and they're able to take questions and have conversation back and forth to maybe put the public's mind at ease that the work has been done.
It doesn't seem to be at ease right now, looking around this room.
Well,
Why didn't these people show up before?
Well, do you mind if I inject? I mean, I've been back here waiting. And you, I mean, you can roll your eyes all you want.
no, actually, we have meeting protocol.
I understand.
And he's the chair, and the
Listen,
chair
I'm
should.
not here to battle wits with you, okay? I'm here to speak.
Tom,
Can
can you
Please.
control this?
you have some order here?
I'm just,
Trevor, go ahead.
I'm just trying to say that you said that you give due diligence. Well, apparently, according to this room, there hasn't been due diligence. Because otherwise, we all wouldn't be here tonight. That's all I'm saying. And these people are here, myself included, because we've got concerns. If you don't want to debate that tonight, that's fine. But how does this work going forward? So you're saying you're scheduling this meeting for the hearing of it. Is that going to be the final at that point?
It would be the final at that point to vote.
Yes or no? Whether you're going to accept it or not?
It would be up to the board to accept it at the end of the hearing, yes.
Okay.
But it's a discussion, am I right? Right. I mean,
Yeah. It's a public hearing.
Yeah, it would be the first of at least one, you have to have at least one public hearing. So they have a hearing, take input, they have the ability, a majority could vote to adopt or not adopt.
Amend it.
Or amend it,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
And then but there is, what I did give to the board is the statute related to all this, which is on page 4 of 22 of the meeting packet. There's a couple more back there, I think. And it does describe what the board, what the amendment process would be and the hearing process.
I mean, that's why we're all here tonight, is because some of the things that are in this zoning, whatever it is. But, I mean, we just got some concerns and questions, and apparently, I mean, you got some pretty good sized business owners here that are shocked that this is their first year hearing on it.
So that's a problem, because
It
it's
is.
up to those individuals to review the material and to comment to the planning commission. And that was what all the hearings were all about. I will tell you, there were about 3 people here the night that the planning commission presented their final offering. Nobody else showed up. I don't know where you all were, but you certainly were not paying attention to that.
Well, we were
So
probably-
it doesn't matter. The point is, the process has been that this has been open and dialogued all along.
But Martha, the process is also, once it comes to the select board has their duty to go through this.
I get that, I absolutely do, but that's
And
not
I have
necessarily.
questions and
And
concerns.
I think the representative from the planning commission would be happy to answer your questions, Tom.
I think the
Your
board should hear
questions.
these concerns as well.
It's your questions, that's what we let you go and do over the last week, was to go and look at it. Dick Dale is here to answer your questions.
Before, Mr. Dale, if you don't mind. I'm glad you went through the document, Tom. I'm glad that we afforded you that extra week's time to go through the document. But this document has been available all along.
There
So
have been
I'm not back and forth,
at least six
I'm making a
versions
statement.
of this
The
document.
document has been available. It's been on the website, it has been available, there's been public meetings that have been warned.
It's been on the
Some
website
have been-
since last Monday.
Tom, I'm not gonna debate with you.
I'm just saying, no, it's been on the website since last Monday, so guess what? A lot of the public only has had a week to look at it as well.
There's been 2 changes
Right.
to that document that was on the website, and they were minor grammatical changes. So the document that was on the website a long time ago is the current document with 2 changes since then.
With 1 week for everybody to look at it, since the final draft has been presented to the select board.
Well, then maybe.
Once the final draft is presented to the select board, like I said, it's our due duty to actually go through this line by line and look at it before we have a public hearing and address any concerns we have.
It's unfortunate that you did not go through the document on a regular basis like I did, so that I didn't have to wait until the 11th hour to put the brakes on this.
Not the 11th hour.
This long, grueling project that has been going on with volunteers from our community.
No?
Disappointing.
That's how the process works. Is that when it comes to the select board, it's the select board's duty to start looking over it even more.
You can look before the final product is in front of you.
I have looked through 3, 4 drafts before. Well, until the final draft is presented to the select board to put to a hearing, there is no final draft to be looked at.
Correct. And that's my question, just one more quick thing.
It's the truth.
At the hearing, will that or will that not be the final vote that night? And the reason, I have a reason why I'm asking. So is that the final vote that night?
It is not guaranteed to be the final vote, but the select board will vote at the end of that meeting to either adopt or
Sorry.
add amendments or go back to the drawing board.
And you don't have to act, you just have to hold a hearing, and you could come back at the next meeting and say, okay, we heard this, this, and this from folks, what do you say, do we want to make these other changes? So it's just a first hearing, it can be the first of many, or the board could adopt it that night.
Correct, and that's what I'm asking, because apparently it's a hot topic. And, you know, I just want to make sure that it's notified, I mean, give everybody a chance to just.
You've had-
But good, yeah, there's required notification processes that we've followed to a T.
Yeah.
That I know.
How did you all hear about our meeting tonight?
We were notified about it.
How were you notified?
By text.
From me,
Yeah,
for some of these
that's
people, yes.
clear.
I'm
You know-
letting the public know that they should look at this document. Is there a problem with that?
Timing is everything, right?
There kind of
What
is a
is the
problem with that.
rush, what is the rush to pass this tomorrow?
It's not
There
being
is no
passed
rush.
tomorrow, Tom. The rush is to have the hearing. That's what we're asking for, is a hearing. We're not asking to approve the document. We're asking for a hearing. You're making this into like a witch hunt.
I'm not making it into a witch
You
hunt.
really are. If you're texting people underhandedly
show
to
up.
tell them to come to the meeting, to me, that's,
How is it underhanded when I just said I texted?
that's,
I said you look
Organizing
at this
a
part
group of
of the
people.
ordinance, or zoning bylaw, I should say, not ordinance. I said this might concern you.
it's childish.
You're childish. He's looking out for our well-being.
Can
He's looking out for our business.
can someone run a meeting here?
Well, I think you're trying to run the meeting. You're not even the chair of the board.
I have a valid question pertaining to how a decision is made to be moving on, if I could ask it.
Go ahead.
Is it, would it be unreasonable to think that if, let's just say for the sake of argument, 3 select board members had a problem with the way something was written, or maybe a certain ordinance is not even required, that they would want it to go back to the planning commission to address it before scheduling a date for public hearing? Is that unreasonable to expect that?
It's not unreasonable, but the point is that the planning commission has been working along, as
No,
we've
no
heard,
doubt, and they work hard
from
on ensuring.
2018, and so none of this is brand new, like 3 days ago. This has been,
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, you guys got a final draft of a proposed ordinance.
but those of us who've been watching this all along have been seeing it through its
Yeah.
iterations, right?
And-
That's
and-
the
and-
job of
and I
somebody
appreciate-
who's following
I
it.
appreciate anybody that's willing to sit through those meetings and maybe offer the input. I feel a little ashamed I didn't show up for some of them, because I like to be involved, but life is beating me up right now and I don't have time for it. What I'm asking is, the planning commission has presented what they're calling a final document, and I know of at least 2 select board members that have a problem with part of it.
But that presentation was about 4 weeks ago. The planning commission presented their final document.
Well,
It was
that's
an
not-
open meeting, and as I said, there were about 2 citizens here.
But when they present it to us, it's our
Yeah.
duty to look through this document and come up with any problems we have before having a public hearing.
And granted, if you've got some issues, let's deal with your issues.
Very well, let's do that then.
I think what Steve's question is, though, is if we have a problem with, if there's something that we'd like to see changed, would it be changed prior to the hearing, or would it be changed within the next hearing? Is that
That's a key question.
more the gist
I
of what
mean,
you're
what you
asking?
have is a product. Evidently, there's some disagreement on whether that product's ready to be moved forward. Is it unreasonable to think that 3 select board members, if that's what happens, decide, you know what, this product isn't ready to be revealed to the public yet for a open discussion. Let's have the planning commission really look at this and express their views. I mean, I realize that there was meetings a month ago and over the last 8 years. I'm not so sure that the particular ordinance that many of us are here for has been being discussed for the last 8 years. Maybe it was, but my feeling is that there is gonna be some strife over this one particular thing. And I think the whole process is gonna get tanked over it, if that's significant. So my feeling is that shouldn't the product be improved if it can be before the public gets to do the open discourse? That's what I see the problem is. And I've had a chance to talk to 2 people today about it. We had a very good discussion. And I sell firewood to this guy, so I know what side of the fence he's on. I think realizing what this means about setting a date, debating the minutia of the ordinance, this isn't the night to do it. I get that.
Right.
But I see half the room being against it or having a problem with it. Maybe some changes or some clarifications need to be made. And that's what I'm hearing from the guys I talk to. And so I don't feel it's unreasonable to make that decision to say, hey, look, you guys discuss amongst yourself. This is a problem we have. I think the select board or the planning commission needs to take another look at this. I know we'd love to have this thing done because I've been hearing about the process. I hear all kinds of stuff. And occasionally I have meaningful conversations with people like Dick and other folks that are involved with different boards. This particular thing affects me personally, and I would like to see the final product be as perfect as you can make it.
I think it's time to let Dick have his say.
So that's,
We have been told what the process is all along. We had 2 formal hearings and 7 informational hearings in order to get the public response. In response to every single one of those meetings, the Planning Commission has gone back and done its due diligence to try and address the concerns that have been raised. Our understanding was that we do our very best to create the best possible document. which in this particular case happens to be a total brand-new document, very comprehensive, because the previous two bylaws were merely repeated versions of previous bylaws. Thus, it needed to be completely new. What we did was to come up with the very best consensus perspective from the people that we heard from. We understood that there will be and are possible needs for clarification so that unintended consequences are not realized, so that it does represent the will of the majority of the people in town. So we were told, submit your very best final effort to the select board. The select board would have a hearing. It might not be the only hearing. They would hear, much as we did, from the public. If you're not ready to make a decision or desire change, then you'll have to do your due diligence and get either clarification as to what the intent of the language was from the Planning Commission, or you make your own proposals. Clarifications are not significant changes. They get to the intent of the ordinance, or the bylaw, each section of the bylaw. And between the beginning and now, we have heard lots of objections. I have minutes that show virtually every objection, whether it was written or done in testimony, was considered by the entire 7-member Planning Commission. What we are giving you is our very best effort, admitting that there are consequences to some of the decisions that we made. We did it by consensus. Most of the votes were 7-0. You can send it back to the Planning Commission if you wish. What we have done, our absolute best effort. So my appeal is bylaws can be amended quickly if there are unintended consequences. Bylaws can be clarified by this board. Bylaws are only approved by the select board. We also know that a 5% group of people in town can actually force an overturning of a select board vote to approve. You guys can do all sorts of things. What I'm hopeful is that if these gentlemen and other people want to make an appeal with respect to a decision that has been made, you guys have the power to do that. If it is significant, you can make the change. But then, as I understand the law, it then goes back to the Planning Commission. Then the Planning Commission has to go through its approval process. Then it comes back to the select board and you go through it again. That's where I think we are. You're not approving. And Shane, you obviously have the specific law and the other things. If I've misstated anything, it's...
Yeah, all the planning commission would have to do is go back and revise its report.
Right.
You don't have to have a public hearing to do that.
Well, in any case, the point is that we're not making a decision tonight. We're giving the public, late in the game, an opportunity to express itself. So Chad, I have heard from several times. He testified before us. We took an hour and a half to consider his personal objections. I frankly don't know how I could be any more representative of what this town wanted and expressed, consistent with state law, consistent with the testimony that we have received, and the inevitable consequences of making decisions. That's all.
Well, once you give it to us, it's our duty to ask the questions that we want to ask.
I agree, and my hope is that if there are objections, I know of several, because they testified before and we made a decision otherwise, that you would give during the question of whether or not to adopt the Planning Commission to have its say as to why we made the decision. Ultimately, the choice of what to do isn't ours, it's yours, and we appreciate that.
I still have some questions that I'd like to be clarified about this.
Then I would suggest you
Before
write a letter to the
hearing.
Planning Commission, and we'll answer it as rapidly as we can before the hearing.
I would like my questions answered before there's ever a scheduled hearing,
Okay, that's your choice.
because that's our due duty, is to ask the questions we want before we have a hearing, as a board.
Can I make a clarification, though? There's only one representative from the Planning Commission here, and I would worry that there may be questions that Mr. Dale is not able to answer fully, representing the Planning Commission. I don't know, Dick, if that's your thought. Are you able to do it tonight, or?
About one question that I know a lot of people here right now are concerned about.
I want to be within the framework of the meeting, and if you, the select board, would like me to try to address the issue, then I will be happy to.
I would, at least this one.
Go for it.
Alright, so the one that most people I think are here for is the fact that firewood processing in town is permitted in one district, conditional use in one, and outlawed in everything else. And you can't split firewood on a weekend. You have to have 6 acres to have a firewood processing site. Are you just trying to put every firewood company out of business in this town? Most of it is a second income. It is not their main profession, and that's why they do it on the after hours or on the weekends.
That particular provision, and the rural acreage is not 6 acres, it's 3.
It actually says in here, firewood processing site has to be 6 acres,
Okay,
minimum.
my recollection is something different, and if that needs clarification, then I would be happy to do it. And before I get done, we heard from the public that quarrying, logging done.
No, I'm just clarifying and showing you the 6 acres.
That's fine. I believe that what you've read is correct.
What is
But
in the Bible?
one of the reasons we
clarify?
limited the amount of acreage to be cut has to
This
do.
isn't acreage to be cut. To
The-
actually do firewood processing, you have to be on the 6 acre lot.
One of the reasons that we did that has to do with Act 250 and the contiguous forests that need to be done, as well as the act that allows for free movement of animals within the framework of those districts. The second reason that we limited the time of the logging
It's not logging.
or
Not logging.
foresting
It's not forest burning either.
It's simply splitting firewood. That is it.
was that we heard over and over and over again, much as your noise ordinance does, to limit the disruption before 8 o'clock in the morning to the peace and quiet of individuals within sound of that material. That's the rationale, and if in your wisdom you don't think that that rationale is justified, then, of course, you can make that clarification and change.
Well, home business and home occupation have time limits on when they can work on the weekend. However, firewood processing is banned from doing anything on the weekend.
That's because of the fact that most people are at home and would be bothered by it. That was our rationale. If you don't buy, or the citizens don't buy that rationale, then that's a justification for a change.
Thank you. Steve?
I think that was a perfect example of why this needs to be sent back and reviewed and rewritten, possibly even stricken. Within 2 minutes of me reading that, I found about 5 problems with it, one of which is a lot of the firewood that gets delivered to Londonderry comes from other towns. That ordinance isn't gonna stop that. You know, Rising Sun, the guy in Winhall with the kiln dried stuff, doesn't stop him from doing it. My firewood operation right now is in Langgrove, but I have to use Beatty Road to get it out of there. So I do firewood on Wednesdays and Sundays. You're just eliminated half the time that I can do things.
Well,
That seems heavy-handed.
our regulations have no control over your property in a different town.
But I have to use Londonderry roads to deliver it.
That's not a land use issue.
However, if he
It says
brings his
in there
mail
you
back
can't
in
deliver.
Londonderry, he is subject to that rule.
It says in there I can't deliver in the ordinance or in the bylaw.
Yeah, no trucking.
No trucking. And I think probably the most important question is why in hell did you want to put a kibosh on someone trying to enter into trade and commerce?
This sounds like an unintended consequence, and I think if we understand or frame it that way and say, okay, now let's move forward. What is it that we can do? What does the process allow us to do? Do we throw the whole Megillah out, or do we say we pass it and then go back and look at that particular area and fix it?
No. Well, no. When you have to go back and fix it, you know, we could be talking about it 8 years from now, that why isn't this fixed yet? I would argue that let's present it in a complete form, because this is an issue that's gonna get a bunch of us bubbas in here every other Monday raising hell with you guys. And it seems to me that within your body, if 3 of you guys decided that that product isn't ready for the public consumption, you could decide to delay when you want to have the hearing, send it back, get it fixed. I'd be happy to sit with the planning commission, but I don't speak for the rest of these guys. Tony's biggest firewood producer in the area. I'm a tiny guy. I do 30, 40 cords a year when I have time. He does thousands of cords, has contracts on Stratton. He has to be able to work 7 days a week to do his business. And trust me, he carries a lot of water in this town. You know, I like to participate and be active, and I run my mouth a lot, but I see where this is going. And it reminds me of several years ago when Weston tried to pass an ordinance banning hanging clothes on the clotheslines in public. It has, you know, transplant NIMBY written all over it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that's fair.
Well, that's coming from me.
I get it, but I think if you understand again, the reason for looking at these bylaws as a whole product, it was to refine and improve these rules that define what we can do on our land and with it. And it's not meant because we're NIMBYs trying to, or flatlanders trying to change something in that way. We're just trying to refine it.
Well, this didn't happen in a vacuum.
No, it's been wide open. It's as we
No,
said.
what I'm saying is the idea of this didn't happen because the planning commission decided it was a good idea. Somebody brought this up at some point and said, you guys need to look at doing something here. You know, I understand how things work a little bit too. And so, yeah, us guys didn't show up for those meetings. Shame on us, you know? I didn't know about them. I probably should have. I mean, I hear everything, but I didn't hear anything about
And
that.
that's fine, and let's work with that. But let's work with it in the process that doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Maybe that's the best way to say it.
So my suggestion, back to my original point, is I don't think it's unreasonable for you 5 guys to decide before setting a date, hey, should we send it back and really get this looked at a lot closer?
Well, and if that's the specific area you'd like to have the planning commission work on, that's
Oh,
fine.
no, I got many areas.
Okay, well, let's go through them. Let's tick them off.
Do we need to go through them?
I don't know. Just trying to figure out how to move this.
Go ahead, Chad.
So if the planning commission has done their due diligence and they've worked so diligently to produce this, and Mr. Dale is the chair of that board.
He's not the
No.
chair. He's not the
I'm the
chair.
only person who could come tonight.
Okay, Mr. Dale is the only person from the planning commission that could come tonight, but he stands here and doesn't even know what the bylaw is. He's talking, Martha, he's talking about logging, he's talking about cutting trees. That's not what it- that's
So,
not-
Chad, so-
Martha, I have the floor.
Take a fight
Thank you,
with me,
Martha.
please. Good Lord.
Be nice.
The bylaw, 3226, firewood processing, may I read it? Because clearly Mr. Dale doesn't know what the bylaw is that he's so diligently
Doing
working
a
on.
catch-up. What he's trying to do is he's trying to grab somebody's,
No, I'm not.
perhaps not remembering a particular detail, but that's a gotcha, and I don't think that's fair.
It's
Ms.
not-
Gale and Ms. Brown, everything anyone has said in this room, you were shot down. You do not let anything move forward. It seems like you want to stop this. You do not want to have a conversation. I can't sit here and listen to this anymore.
Sorry.
Your language is predatory towards everybody else in the room. You don't want to make progress.
I don't agree. I'm sitting
don't
here
agree.
and listening, and I
Have any of you
certainly
read
didn't
this?
appreciate being called childish, number 1. But number 2, I am open to hearing what,
Chad, be
I
nice.
have the floor, Tom.
Chad, be nice
I
though.
have the floor.
I'm requesting that you be civil.
You got it, Tom. I have the floor. May I read it? May I read the bylaw as it is written? Unless otherwise approved by the Development Review Board, through site plan review upon the applicant demonstrating that all potential off-site impacts, including noise and dust, will be fully mitigated, firewood processing must, number 1, be located on at least 6 acres in size. 2, not have outdoor use and storage areas except as specifically shown on an approved site plan in accordance with section 3103, excuse me. 3, not located processing equipment closer than 200 feet of an existing dwelling that is not in common ownership with the business. 4, operate only weekdays between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., including all trucking operations. That means Steve cannot truck from one town to another. Firewood cannot be delivered after 8 p.m. at night or 6 p.m. at night, nor can it be delivered earlier. Meet the performance standards of section 3105. Performance standards is very long, but it includes screening and trees and shrubbery. That's what you work so hard on.
How many pages is the report, sir?
How many pages?
Yes,
can we move on?
218 pages.
okay. And virtually every
I'm
single
uncomfortable, I'd
one
like to move on.
of the sections is new.
I had it before I'm finished, Tom, thank you.
I'm willing, as a planning commissioner, to be directed by the select board with respect to how to move this forward. My statement was, we have done our very best to accord with state law and with the town plan and the testimony that we heard. So I can't address it clearly, I said, has another thing, that unintended consequences can be clarified. But if this thing is significant, the select board has the ability to do so. The hearing will surface not only the gentleman who came tonight, but everybody else who might have difficulty with what's in the document, despite the fact that we have warned and tried to publicize every opportunity to get in touch with us. And that's not our decision, it's yours.
No, but as I
You're not going to
said,
make a decision tonight? Fine. At some point, you will.
I would like to schedule for our next meeting a question and answer with the planning commission on my concerns.
Should that be a special meeting? Because I imagine that it will take up a significant amount of time. So I'm open to a special
Our
meeting.
next meeting is pretty,
Yeah, it's a pretty light agenda for the next meeting, which is next Monday.
I won't be in attendance next Monday.
I won't even.
Is it possible for you to express your specific concerns in a note of what your concerns are so that we can gather together, get you your answers, and bring all the documentation with us?
it'd be easier for you to sit down with me and go through my questions than actually write something up, because it's easier to just look at the bylaw and bring the concerns to you.
Can you speak to our chair, Heather,
Yep,
and arrange that?
yep. I will.
And can you
Will do that?
collect the grievances that the community has here tonight? And can you represent, are you all comfortable if Tom represents your interests in a meeting with the chair of the planning commission prior to our meeting next Monday?
It wouldn't be an open meeting?
It would
No,
be
it
an
will
open
be, but
meeting.
he's able to, it would mean that hitting that meeting, we could hit the ground running to where there might actually
The
be,
planning commission would be able to have an idea of what my concerns are, and then they can hear them at the meeting as well.
there might not be
And then you guys
snafus of
can weigh in as
the
well.
misunderstandings of the.
It's not a public hearing, but it is a public meeting. It's a
Yeah.
regular,
It's a public meeting and we can all show up if we want.
All our meetings are public, except for executive session, and we cannot do executive session on
any of this.
much of anything. And we cannot make any decision in executive session. Shane?
Thought I had is that you could go through that process and answer whatever questions that you might have, but once we do have a public hearing, as was mentioned, there could be a whole slew of other people that come out and want answers to other questions. And we could be going through this process a number of times, as opposed to just banging it out. and getting it
Well,
done
there
once.
will be significant changes throughout what I bring up, and therefore there will be another planning commission hearing.
I was looking at the statute on that, they don't have another hearing. You guys.
If we send it back to them with significant changes, they will have to have another hearing.
If the legislative body at any time makes substantial changes to the concept, meaning, or extent of the proposed bylaw amendment or repeal, it shall warrant a new public hearing, or hearings under subsection A, which is yours.
A new public hearing.
But it's a select board,
It's a select board public.
not a planning
It's not
commission.
planning commission.
My
If any-
understanding is if they make significant changes to their zoning bylaw, they have to have another hearing.
That's if they do it, but they don't have to do it.
They don't have
You
to
can
do
do
it,
it.
but I'm gonna
If
suggest
any-
they do it.
If at any part of the proposal is changed, the legislative body, at least 10 days prior to the hearing, the planning commission, select board's hearing, shall file a copy of the changed proposal with the clerk of the municipality and with the planning commission. The planning commission shall amend the report that it prepared to reflect the changes made by the legislative body, and shall submit that amended report to the legislative body or at or prior to the public hearing. And that's it.
I would like to have the planning commission have their chance to make the significant changes that I will bring up. And then they will have to have another public hearing before it comes to us.
Okay. I mean, but the select board can make those changes without the planning commission, is all I'm getting at.
I think the planning commission should have their chance to make the changes. Sorry, Steve, I think we're done with this topic for tonight.
Actually, he should be
Can I
here.
ask,
Alright?
I would like to ask the board if you feel that what we brought up specifically about the firewood has shown definitely there's an unintended consequence. If you think it's worth sending it back, because that's one less unintended consequence you might have to deal with going down the road. And that being said, wouldn't it be worth it for reconsideration? I think that's reasonable.
I'll be honest with you, I thought that the way this process went was that we were gonna set a date for a hearing and that all of this would happen in that hearing. I mean, I don't see a problem either way, because we're gonna get our chance to look at the concerns and hear the concerns. My understanding was that was the process, was through the hearing.
As was mine.
Well, the process is that once it's given to the select board, we have our due diligence and we go through it. And we present any concerns we have back to the planning commission before a public hearing. And then if we want significant changes, they make significant changes, they have their public hearing, and then we bring it back and we have a public hearing if we are ready. It's the way we have done it in the past.
In 2017.
Any changes we've ever made, we've amended them a couple times.
2020,
since I've been on the board.
minor change in 2020.
Yep.
Could I just say, just want to get back to the issue of your facility, it's in a different town. We cannot, the town of Londonderry cannot issue a notice of violation for a use that takes place in another town. If you drive on town roads, there are common carrier regulations that are irrelevant with regard to zoning. So there's no issue there.
An issue that will come up with him is he owns a log landing in Londonderry, and if he brings his equipment back into Londonderry, he will be subject to that zone.
That's true.
And
I'm just saying, but if it's specifically in a different town, we have no say.
But the bylaw also says I'm not allowed to transport on the weekends or after 6 o'clock.
But that's a zoning issue related to property, it's not related to town highways or state highways.
Well, see, that's the thing I was trying to address as a double standard. Companies out of town can truck it into town.
Right.
But our local guys can't.
That's the unintended consequence.
So that's worth fixing.
Right.
I don't disagree with you, I'm just talking about you.
Friday night, park out of town, literally.
Drive up Land Grove,
Park there.
just park 6 of my 1 tons up there.
Right.
Then I can deliver them.
Now, let's stay on track here.
Yeah. I appreciate you listening to us, guys. We know you worked real hard on this, and it's not always easy. We do appreciate it, even though sometimes it may not sound like we appreciate it, so.
I think the planning commission has done the majority of the work to this point, and now our work begins.
This is how the sausage is made. Nobody likes it, so. Have a good night, guys.
Well, we'll move on unless somebody wants to make a motion.
Everybody please make sure to sign in if you haven't already.
Tom, actually, I am, well, besides him, my son, I am one of the younger people here. I didn't know about any of these meetings. Tom did text me and I was literally floored by it. That's why I was here, and I feel very lucky to be able to have that communication, which I hope that's what the select board's job is to do, is make sure the community knows about these things.
Indeed.
You know, and I didn't know anything about it.
It's always posted at the post office.
Yeah, I don't have a post office box.
It's always on the wall there.
Right, well, you can get our mail order.
Right, but I don't go to the post
Whether it's on the wall there.
I know, but.
Whether you get your mail in a sack or brought by a pigeon, I don't care, it's on the wall.
Well, and like I said, I applaud you guys for doing this, because I know it's a lot. You can't make everybody happy, but just trying to make sure, and like you said, I understand, you put it on the post office, but I guarantee there's a ton more people that don't know anything about this. And like, when we have the other meeting, we're gonna need more chairs.
Good.
There's gonna be a lot of questions. Thank you.
Anyone care to make a motion before we move on?
I'm assuming it's different than this motion.
I'm
The
just
the
asking
motion
if
I have
somebody
in there
wants
is the
to make
same
a
one as
motion.
the previous meeting.
Right.
So it's to establish, I'm not recommending one thing or another, but if you wanted to establish a hearing, that's the motion.
No one cares to make a motion? All right. Moving on to item 6, old business, 6A, town office renovation project. Consider award of construction contracts.
Thank you, Tom. Hey, Tom.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
That'll work.
No.
You can't please all the people all the time.
Oh, it's unfortunate.
Way go. Don't let it eat you.
We received some information, if you look at page 14 of 22, this is an email we received from our architect, John Sococcio, and then the following pages is a side-by-side updated information in comparison between the two contractors. It's just really interesting how they price things differently, but in the end, they're, pretty darn close.
69,000.
It's amazing how close they are when you look at some of the difference in some of these numbers.
Yeah, it's just, it's amazing how it kind of sugar's off that way, but, so it's a little bit less than what it was before, but still more than our bond. So if you go to page 16, you'll see the base bid is 1.66 million versus 1.6 million, the low bid being GPI Construction. And then, $70,000 difference at the bottom of page 17 between the two. That's if you add in the alternate items. I think one of the big issues also, again, was the timing, in that All Seasons was 300 days. I think they said they'd reduce it some, but GPI was 220, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, 220. All Seasons was 240, sorry. So it's 20 days difference, not a whole lot. It's gonna be, the building's gonna be closed for a long time.
Right. And all together with the alternates and everything, it's 131,300 difference.
How short are we?
Well, with the reserve fund, depending on what we use,
Well, we voted to put 100,000 in the reserve fund.
Right.
it's 190, I think it's 90.
I can't remember what I did last time.
No, Tom, the total project, including all alternates, the difference is 69,000.
Oh, I got you.
Page 7.
I did that wrong then, I had them both together.
Yeah, so, yeah, this includes the two, so.
Scratch it.
Still amazingly close when you're talking about almost $8 million, $1.7 million, it's off by 69.
Yeah. So with the reserve fund, we'll probably have close to 1.6.
Yeah.
So we'll have about 100 and, if we take GPI, it's about 130 or so to make up.
Yeah,
And we can do that through borrowing from the cemetery commission, like I've said before, at a low interest rate. It's usually what they give us.
yeah.
Can't guarantee they're gonna give it to us, but I assume they would.
I assume.
So this is a lot of money, but again, we've got some really good contractors, and good pricing, and it's never going to get cheaper to do the work that we need to do.
Have you worked with either of these guys?
I worked with both. GPI, it was under their previous owner. They're out of Brattleboro. I worked with them when I worked for the town of Brattleboro some years ago.
And All Seasons has been doing the town hall, or
Yeah.
town hall.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but I know John Sococio's worked with both very reputable
His
companies.
recommendation is
Yeah, his recommendation is GPI.
Yep.
I would support that. They're a good company, very good reputation. Been around for a long time.
That's all good supporting information for sure.
Yeah. Tough decision because All Seasons is really good also. And it's,
Well, I think it's so close, it's really not about the money alone, you know.
Right.
The low bid is not that much lower, so.
I think the time is
the time
important.
is the key.
Yeah.
I know it's only 20 days, but
That's
20 less days we have to be out of the building.
I think that
No, it's
makes a
80
difference.
days.
Oh, it was
80 days difference, 220 versus 300.
No, they
Oh, they
amended
lowered
that. If you go to the first, page 15 of 22, they changed it to
Oh, I'm
240.
sorry.
But still, 20 days, that's that many more days we have to have a,
Yeah.
yeah, we have trailers and, you know,
Yeah.
it's important. So, I mean, from my standpoint, I say we go with GPI, at the total bid, yeah. Yeah, we'd like to move forward, and then I think timing wise, it works well, it gives us an opportunity to clean up things here, put things into some storage, make arrangements for the trailer. So I'm glad we're not starting this month.
Try to auction off the safes.
So again,
Try to auction off the safes downstairs.
yeah, there's no reason why we can't do that.
We're gonna need some help, just so y'all know.
Well, I think we could auction them off through.
No, we're gonna need some help just cleaning out.
Oh, that part, yeah, but with the stakes, I
We're not,
I'd put them
we're not
on,
gonna have the road crew in this.
I'd like to put them on Auctions International and just let them pull it out and take the walls with them, you know, or at least the molding around the doors.
Yeah.
They got them in there, they gotta come out.
These guys got them in there, didn't you, Joe?
No, we hired a
Oh,
company.
you hired some.
We moved something heavy down there.
We hired a company to move them from inside.
I know we took the board out of there, but I thought we moved something, maybe it was only one safe that we moved and realized it wasn't working very well.
I don't know, you didn't move those, I know you didn't, because it was heavy equipment that moved those.
Well, no, we had the backhoe and
No,
it wasn't fun.
Okay.
Well,
anyway.
it comes down to what we want to do and
Yeah, do you want to do the whole thing, or it's up to you to, you know, cut things out if you want?
I think most of the alternates probably really need to get done.
Well, I think we've talked about that before, that it's never cheaper for two reasons. One is things tend to go up in price, but also just continuity of the project. Like, if you were gonna save something like a section of roof that doesn't affect anything else, that's one thing, but doing windows that has trim and insulation and other things going on and then has to go on again, it's
And
like,
then they have to mobilize again.
right, that doesn't make sense. So I think there was three things that we said we could
We took out
push off,
the
but
roofing,
Alternate 7 got pulled,
yeah, the
alternate,
solar panels and
it
the,
was 6, 7, and 8, wasn't it?
well, it's
Oh,
the
not the
rerouting.
structural part, but
It's a
the-
generator cable that we didn't do either, we took out.
Yeah, we don't
So
have
right
to do
here.
that.
This one, this one, and this one.
alternate 6, 7, and 10.
Is that,
So the re-roofing of, over the clerk and Lester zoning ways. The solar panels
yeah,
and the rerouting of the generator cable.
yeah.
Those are the ones we agreed upon.
So, did the architect have the conversation about, whether or not either of the two companies would be willing to talk about that in the middle of the process, if we came up with money?
He did not say anything, did he?
I don't recall if he did or not, excuse me. I'm sure they don't apologize.
I don't recall him saying anything in his email to us.
I was thinking he thought about having that conversation because
He did say he
just to
was
see if they
thinking
would
about
be
it.
amenable to the idea, but I think either way, those things could be rolled into the process more
Yeah.
easily than anything else on the
Right,
list.
if we're able to get some funding for photovoltaics, I'm sure that would be.
That could happen at any time.
I'm happy to add it on.
If the framing is done
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we are keeping the framing in.
in there, right?
Yeah, he doesn't say anything about that. And read the first, the
I
other
thought that was the
emails,
direction that we gave him, was to go back, and
we did ask him that one.
so maybe we need to follow up.
Well, it does seem like,
GPO was checking on their contractor prices.
They were both, everybody was looking at the contractor prices.
Yeah, that was last week when we got the email from him saying he still needed some time for them to
Have you had
connect.
email from them about the alternates?
He mentions the alternate in his email, but doesn't mention the ones we decided to take off and if we could put those back in if we wanted to at some point.
He says on number 3 that review the alternates, he provided updates on what costs can be held until a future date.
Okay,
Oh.
so just cost can be held.
Number 3.
13,047.
okay, dude, what is it?
I'm not seeing those. Am I not looking at something right? I see that he says something, but I don't know who that was for. Or maybe that's for GPI, because he says 13,000, 47, and 17,000.
So I see on the underground generator cabling, this alternate may be accepted by the owner at a later date.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you look
There you go,
underneath
yep.
on all those.
Yeah, I see that
the
now.
Tabulation reflecting the intent to delay. It's at the bottom of all of the
Yep.
alternates that we were looking at.
Yep.
So they're not even in the total.
No. So, one of them says may be accepted, the roof, if we find by owner until September 1st. The other one says you can't keep the price. And the last one says the alternate may be accepted by the owner at a later date. So I guess he did a little bit of that.
And it looks like the savings has already been incorporated by having it not listed in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize that when I saw it.
So really, the number that we're looking at is the number with those concessions already made?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, they're taking it out.
accurate?
Right, they're out.
And two of them came, one could be done if we said something by September 1st. One just says it could be agreed upon at a later date, and the other, the solar panel says there is no way to guarantee a price.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's fair anyway, I guess.
Yeah. So, do we do 1.6? Do we go and do it all with the alternates?
Actually, I am a little bit confused now because on the last page, he has the alternates calculated in there and the 1.8 for GPI is the total with the alternates. So you actually would subtract from that number.
Well, I think he already did subtract that, 'cause if he subtracted the numbers, he would probably come to that 1.7.
He added the alternate.
29. Yeah, if you subtract those three from the 118, 1.810, then it'd probably come out to that. Because he didn't add those in. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I was just looking at I was looking at the bid summary,
Yeah.
and it starts off at 1.59, 1.6, and then he adds all of them in there, including the alternates that we wanted to remove. So it'd be 1.810.
No.
Minus those. Then.
No, that 1.810 that's from April 18. I just wanted to give you the old thing.
Oh,
What's in play is
That's
the bottom of
That's the
page
one we went over
17.
the first night.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so we're looking at 1.73.
Yeah, me too.
I'm flipping too many pages here.
But I probably should have left it out.
No, that's
I wanted
okay.
to show you what the changes
How
been
it's
from
changed.
from April to now.
Okay, I got it now. I'm with you.
I mean, I know it's a lot, but my thoughts is just go and do it with the 3 alternates we took out and get it done.
So that would be GPI at 1,729,514.
Yeah, right.
That is my thought.
Sounds like a motion.
Then somebody ordered $2 million.
Do we have to list the dollar amount? Probably not, right?
I think you should.
Yeah, probably should.
Oh, yeah, it's on the next page, I see. I would make that motion if we're ready.
Yep.
I move to accept the bid and award the contract for the town hall renovation project to, award to GPI Construction, Inc. in the amount of $1,729,514 and authorize the town administrator to execute all necessary documents to employ this contractor, including a service contract after review by the town attorney.
Then,
Second.
okay. I have a second part there you might want to think about. That is, if we have a change order somewhere that's $1,000, $5,000, whatever the number is, to give me pre-authorization to do that. Just
I think we did
so we
that
don't
on
slow
the,
things down too much.
Yeah.
I think we did that on the town hall project, didn't we?
Sounds
Yeah,
right,
it just,
Was it like,
Was
was it
like
5,000?
whatever you're comfortable with. I mean,
We should
Well,
probably stay consistent with
Yeah,
what
whatever
we've
we
done
did
in
for the
other
last
projects.
one.
this is a different scale.
Yeah. I want to say that was 5,000.
What do you think would be
I'm not-
appropriate?
I think I'd be comfortable with 5,000. I think anything more than that, I want you guys to
Yeah.
weigh in.
Agreed.
That's,
Yep,
Would you like to amend your motion?
Keep
or
reading.
just continue.
Well, it'll be a-
Continue it,
Well, it already been seconded,
so
so.
it's been seconded.
it's a separate motion here, actually, for consideration.
Okay. All right, the first one's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
who seconded? Sorry.
I did.
Jim,
Jim.
Good.
Furthermore, the town administrator is authorized to approve any project construction change order with a value of up to $5,000 and shall report any such order to the select board. Any change order in excess of this amount must be authorized by the select board prior to approval by the town administrator.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to item 7, new business. 7A is discuss champion number 5, fire department mitigation. You guys want me to start this one out, or would you? I guess I'll start, because... So, this came about at our last joint town meeting with, well, Weston was the only one to show up to make him miss that one. It was a flood meeting with Marie Carduto from the state and Alyssa Sabato from Wyndham Regional. I will give a more in-depth update on that next meeting. But what came up was Alyssa Sabato said that we were talking, Weston was talking about their fire company having to probably move firehouses. So I brought up the idea that South Londonderry is not in a great spot and it wouldn't be a bad idea to have them move a firehouse. So Alyssa brought up the idea of maybe mitigation funding could go through this and help us out with cost. And then at a meeting, without me even knowing about it, she met with Troy and brought this up to Troy.
So we did a dam meeting through Ball Mountain and Townsend, and at the end of it, she called me and was telling me that there was $90 million for mitigation and possibly a new firehouse. I said, great, I'm on board. Brought it up to the meeting, it was all good. She called me the next day and apologized. It is for buyouts or completely removing and relocating the building.
The
And
same
all of
building?
it,
Yeah. Like lifting the building?
lifting it up,
Lifting it up.
physically moving the building. And I said, we're not gonna do that. In all of the talk, there was mention of possibly using Proudy land.
Using what?
Proudy land, if at all possible. If we can proceed with this and look for grants and fundings, being that we are in the floodplain, if Proudy land was even an option for us to use for a new firehouse.
And part of the reason why the town bought the county property was wastewater, to move the town office,
Salt
the
shed.
road garage, salt shed, move fire department. It was all part of the process of why we bought that.
Listed as a
property.
reason for purchase.
But again, that would be as if you had to pick up the building and move it there.
That's the only way they could get the mitigation funding.
The $90 million? $90 million?
Throughout the entire.
That's statewide, yeah.
That's statewide.
That can go pretty quickly.
There's a meeting about that on Monday the 20th.
So would you move the Londonderry firehouse also and make it a community fire
Well,
station?
That's, yeah. As it stands, we are the ones in the floodplain at South Londonderry. Londonderry, as far as I know, has never hit floodwater.
I mean, that,
A few of the things we have that we're working on here, and this is obviously a beginning discussion with the select board, because I do remember in 1993, I think it was, when the Proudy property was purchased by the town. I was involved heavily with that with some of the old select board members. And one of the things was, future fire department. So we're looking now, we're starting to say, we can't look at 5 years down the road, we need to start looking at 50 years down the road. Let's face it, our existing structure sitting on the side of that river is a ticking time bomb, because it's happened now 4 times since 1973. Once it wiped the building out, the town actually offered Champion Fire Company the use of land up here to rebuild the firehouse. The company turned it down and rebuilt right there. All right, it was done, it was back in the 70s, I'm not gonna worry about it, but now we have to look at it as, we need to start thinking about the future. So, obviously there's grant funding, we have registered with FEMA as we were damaged, so we're hoping that the beginning process of an assistance to firefighters grant will show that need. Hey, we've had, not only do we have the need for it funding in the town, but we also have flood issues that is compromising our ability to respond. So we think, as with everything, that there are funds out there. It's just going to take quite a few years to pull all this together. But we wanted to begin the discussion with the select board saying, is there something we can do with the town with which to start the process? And yes, the idea may be floated later on of joining the 2 departments if it may come. The idea was also floated out of maybe having other towns contribute within and making a regional fire service. That is also something that can be under discussion. But the short-term issue is moving our station somewhere. There's no place in the village we can put it. We have no available areas there. We don't meet any of the criteria, or, there's always something that says, oh, that's not gonna work. So Proudy property is an obvious place. I know that there is work going on with potential septic fields. Whatever else the planning commission has designed for the land, I want to make sure that we're kind of being thought of too for a mutual thing for the entire community. Just ours right now, but obviously there may be more in the future. We don't know.
Is it possible, is this piece of land up here still available for you?
Which one?
The one that got turned down in the 70s?
It was right where the town garage was, I believe. It was on this little town property somewhere, and I think it was before this, well before this garage was thought of. Because this one was rebuilt, what, 15 years ago? 14 years ago, something like that.
So there's no room.
There's really no room up here, no.
Got wetlands up here.
Yeah, exactly, so, and, it's to begin the process of saying, I don't anticipate us even thinking of turning a key. I mean, we're looking at 5 years, and you know what the town office has been, how many years has that been, just to do some renovations, right? We're talking about picking up and physically relocating something, or picking up and building brand new. It's gonna take a while, so we need to begin the conversation, and we wanted to put it out to everybody. Like Tom said, it looked like there was some mitigation funding that could be, and there's not to say that there won't be.
Yeah. That's how this really got on tonight. That was Thursday, but we were talking about this, and there was deadlines that were gonna have to be met for mitigation. And then it got put on the agenda, and Friday we found out that mitigation money's not there, and these guys almost thought about not coming tonight, but I said, you gotta start the
Miss all the
conversation.
fun? Come on.
We didn't realize that everything else was going on, we're sorry for that.
But I said,
Be eligible for a buyout.
I said you have to start the conversation,
Well,
What's that?
a
otherwise.
buyout may be, they may contribute some money. I mean, I heard, I know the house next to us couldn't consider a buyout because it wasn't even enough for them to move somewhere. Yeah, but it may be a case of, hey, we will give you whatever to help towards the cost of the new station. But, that's why we need to begin the conversation. An AFG, Assistance to Firefighters Grant, I've written one before, which we gained our air packs for. George wrote one or two before me. I think the next opening for those is starting sometime in November or December. And that takes probably 2 or 3 writes to get through, to get accepted, and so you have to keep resubmitting. So that's a 5-year process. It's definitely worthwhile, because let's look at the cost basis. The other thing is, we don't have water at our station. We may have sewer, but we only have a quote-unquote little tiny bathroom. Yeah, when we want to wash our trucks, we're at the mercy of our neighbor. They give us 300 gallons of water, we fill our tank in the station. We can't have a well on that property. So.
Kind of ironic for.
Yes, well,
It is. But, so, and obviously Londonderry is in the same boat. They don't have a working bathroom or a well. They have an outlet.
how's that legal?
Yeah. Private organization.
Nobody's
It's like
living
ours,
there.
it's not,
There's no running water.
there's no running water, there's no food service, there's no anything, it's just a garage. So, that's kind of the way it is, and it's the way it's been. But we need to look to 50 years, 100 years down the road. So, we're beginning the conversation with you folks, hoping that you can all spend some time thinking about ideas. And maybe in the grand scheme of things, you can start planning at the Prouty property to hold aside, 1 or 2 acres for that potential. I don't know how many acres are available there, or.
And what was it, 73, the firehouse was gone.
73, the firehouse had 3 legs left.
It's the promised land.
But now it's got a pretty strong foundation, but we're very worried about the wall that's back there. We're supposed to have work starting tomorrow, I believe, to kind of reinforce things, but we're not willing to dump $1 million into that wall either, because guess what?
Has the river eaten away at the back?
It's
Bank?
chewing up the concrete behind us.
Is it
Which was
undermined?
poured over the wall. It hasn't undermined anything, well, it has in the parking lot when it came through. So we're having all that poured with reinforcing concrete, a much bigger, heavy piece there. But if you look at the wall from the side of the Forbes building, and you look over at like the concrete wall that was poured years and years ago, I think in the 1960s or 70s, they poured that concrete to cover up the stone walls. Those stone walls were in existence for hundreds of years, right through there. And, the river water's taking its toll on all that. So it's not worth putting any money into, folks. I'm sorry to say, it really isn't.
Yeah.
The building structure does not work for us. I mean, our trucks, one of our trucks fits by 1.5 inches each side of the mirror.
Jeez.
So you have to be really specific backing that truck in or pulling out.
And those are a heavy machine, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's bearing down on that
We
wall.
can't turn our trucks out of our station if somebody's parked in the post office, in front of the post office. We can't get our trucks out sometimes, depending which way we need to go. We went to a structure fire in Wyndham, was it last winter, and we could not make a right turn because somebody was in getting their mail.
Wow.
So it's starting to begin the discussion. And
Long-term project, but if you don't start the discussion, then
I'm aware of some other communities that have been, are presently going through this. Elsewhere, Rockingham is dealing with it.
Saxon's River, Bellows Falls.
Right, that group, and there's other ones as well on the other side of the river.
so, just want to bring it up and say, I wish you guys would think about it a little bit, about what potential we could use or do, or just to begin the discussions and,
I was thinking Airbnb, but I was thinking turn it into an Airbnb, but with no water. I guess that's not.
Oh, you could call that an endless
Some of them
pool.
Hang a bucket out the window.
Did I hear that you guys need a temporary space for the town office when you're under construction? I mean, I'd be glad to make a deal with you if you build us a new station right now. You can use that building free
That's
of charge.
creative thinking.
It is.
It's right there on the main
We all
street,
need something.
We'll consider it.
Just,
But we can condemn it, right?
Who owns the property the firehouse sits on?
we,
firehouse.
You do.
yeah, Champion Fire Company does. Correct.
So if you were to move that, would you sell that property?
At home.
Yeah,
I don't
we
know.
want it, we want it.
There's one born every minute.
Well, that's why I mentioned the buyout process, because
Right.
they'll give you 100% right now of the assessed value.
What is that assessed value, would you say?
4 or 5 million at least.
Yeah, not the assessed.
We can work on it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Assessor. I mean,
It's more than zero.
I can tell you in a minute.
It's on the grand list, right?
I have never looked at that.
It's on for Mark
I think-
parcel ID.
I think the old rescue squad building's on the list for like $20,000, I believe.
Right.
So,
It's not much.
it's not much.
100% of. not
And
much.
nobody will ever rebuild there because you have a well and a septic issue.
Yeah.
I mean, you're never gonna meet the requirements there. I mean, it's gonna have a septic.
You're gonna have a septic system, we'll have septics in the,
But
in
how
the
does
area.
that, my question to that is, how does that affect wells being brought in now, knowing existing septics were in those general areas, you still have to maintain the 100-foot setback you need? If there was an existing septic system that's now no longer, can you go ahead and build a well right there? I don't know what the answer is gonna be to that question. I don't think you would want to. So you're never gonna meet that 100-foot separation distance that
You
you
have a
need
remote
now.
well.
So, and who would be in the right mind building there?
No one in their right mind.
The fire department, that's it.
But we've done this all over historically. I mean, Jamaica's sitting in a bad spot, all right?
Yeah.
Even though they rebuilt their station, it's in a bad spot. Many of the stations along here in Vermont and small towns are that way because we're all built based on community
Center town,
through
yeah.
river valleys, which are easy to get through.
And I mean, this is maybe a dumb question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. The Crowdy land is obviously a better spot, not just because you can pull out of the garage and go either way, but in proximity, I mean, you're not in the floodplain, you can approach both villages, I suppose.
Eventually, yeah.
So listed real full value, it says on Vermont parcel ID is $32,200.
So that will buy us a garage door with an opening for a truck.
A preliminary study by an engineer.
Correct, right.
But the problem too with the buyout I see is you need somewhere to have your
Yeah.
fire trucks while you're waiting 10 years to build a new firehouse.
Right, which was why we're making the effort to do some remediation in back right now and maintain what we have. But if you look at the frequency, the increase in floodwaters and issues and things, we're in a bad spot. We're gambling and it's not one of the odds are not in our favor.
You sat on the other side of the bridge and watched the water just go up on the building.
The building was good, but I'm getting worried about the rest of it. You know, if we get one of those scours to get going, took out the back lot, but what's to say something doesn't twirl on the one side of the building and undermine everything there and cause the whole thing to go? It's possible. The building was three-legged in 1973, and the only thing that was left was the upstairs. The entire lower section was gone.
The sheds back here can't be renovated to accommodate a firehouse?
I think that would be.
Not enough depth.
I mean, if you mowed them down, but is
You'd
there?
have to
You'd have to bring it out into the parking lot just to get the
You can't
depth.
back it
If we
up.
go back to 15 years ago and put the town garage up where the sand and salt shed is.
Give us this.
And get rid of a town garage to a fire department.
That,
I mean, us with our sand and salt up there and our garage
Right.
down here is what the townspeople voted down, putting the garage up there 15 years ago.
But if you've got a flood, you can't get out of here.
Well, they wouldn't get anywhere in Southbury at the Friday night either, because the bridge is closed, this is flooded.
Yeah.
They'd still have to move their trucks if the flood came.
Correct. No matter
But
what
their
the flood
gear
is.
and whatever's in the building will be safe and sound,
right.
or should be there, or.
And it still becomes a base of operations.
Right.
In the last flood, it was not a base of operations, but neither was this building, which we found out was because both ends were flooded, same thing with the town garage. But we were cut off from so many places.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at how that last flood sectioned this town, it was twice as many islands, as I like to call it, as was Irene.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't make it anywhere for a while.
So has anybody, and not to get too far into this, but has anybody ever sat at a map with like push pins and a string and figured out where the perfect place to be is during a storm, or?
No, but we know now, I mean, well.
Not in
each time
Londonderry.
Not Western.
Not,
Maybe window.
I'm thinking.
Maybe Bromley.
I think that's the whole point, is it's so widespread, there's really no safe place to be as long as
If
you're above water, then you're safe.
Before this last flood, I did planning for, you know, kind of what we need to do, what areas do we need to think about. And I took those plans and I ripped them up in the last flood because, like I said, we doubled the number of islands, we doubled the areas we couldn't get to. And Londonderry was in the same boat. I was in constant communication with them. And they're like, we can't make it out of the village, or we can't get off of Route 100.
Yeah.
So you don't really have a good spot no matter what. And looking at response time for the town, you know, the Prouty property is kind of centrally located. If you want to build a new town garage, that'd be a great spot for the town garage right off the town highway. And, you know, we'd be glad to help out and take over this building, but the discussion should start.
I think that's worth exploring, all that stuff. I mean, 15 years changes people's perspective, because things change for sure.
Yeah,
So
and now
it's
you've
worth
got sand and
revisiting.
salt up there, which means equipment's up there, manpower has to go there. Sometimes not as easy for
Right, there's some
them.
wasted time.
There's
Maybe
waste.
Running chains and equipment back and forth.
So there are ideas, and we're open to those ideas. We don't want to shoot anything down, because this is going to be a long-term process, and grants and public assistance is going to be necessary.
For a new facility though, don't you need to meet certain new requirements, showering, cleaning, things like, you know,
I believe so.
equipment, equipment cleaning?
Examination stuff.
Right.
To a degree, yes.
You mean for the fire department or the town crew?
Fire department.
It depends upon
Contamination stuff.
the organization too, and the capacity. Yes, I mean, that would be another thing. I mean, we don't have the ability to even wash our own fire gear.
Right.
You know, we're at the mercy of other departments to take our stuff to. So it does hurt us in the long run. And yes, it would be nice to have some modern things. I would love to be able to hose our fire trucks off.
Yeah.
But if I do that now, I've got this much space between the wall and the truck. I've got the 300 gallons of water I can use, but you definitely don't have the
Hey,
ability to do
you take
it.
a shower then?
Yes, we can. We're very good about that, trust me. I just want to keep the door open with the select board and keep on the thing, and if we can do some brainstorming, I think it'd be a great idea.
Absolutely.
I know the planning commission has a lot to think about, but it might be something in their ballpark too.
And I don't know if we put it in that South Londonderry master plan or something we want to do that might actually help get more funding.
It's a great
It
idea.
is on the village, I know there's stuff going on for the village too, I mean, there it says.
I don't know how much money you guys have, but we've invested in CDs because the rates are so high. You know, trying to earn, when we earned, forget
5%
how
now.
many thousands of dollars in a few months.
Yep.
Raising money in Wyndham.
Significant.
But thank you, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Anything for us?
Thanks for hanging out.
Well, that's not a problem, anything for us over here other than what we discussed? Everything else is good?
Keep up the good work.
All right, fine. All right. When the town crew can't move everything, let us know when they get tired downstairs, moving safes and everything else. We're coming up.
Thanks, sir.
Keep that in mind.
You're a funny guy.
All right, the last motion. Who would like it?
I moved to adjourn.
Here we go.
Neither.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
You want the